This is obviously our first American Athletic Conference football teleconference of the 2013 season, so we appreciate your support to this point and during the season. And we've been joined by Rutgers head coach Kyle Flood. The Scarlet Knights last year were 9-4 overall, 5-2 in the Big East. Rutgers tied for a share of the Big East Conference title. This week, Rutgers opens their season Thursday at Fresno State. That game will be a 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff and will be seen on ESPNU. Coach, thanks so much for joining us for the first of our calls this year. If you would take a minute to give a brief overview of training camp so far, and I know you're well into preparations for Fresno State. Tell us what we can expect from you on Thursday night.
How's everybody doing today? It's been a good training camp for us so far. We've got a lot of things done. We've got some young players in our program, I think 17 of them that redshirted last year, and a nice freshman class from this year that have competed hard for playing time, and certainly those redshirt freshmen will have a big role for us on the team, and we've got some true freshmen also that I think are going to have a little bit of a role for us. And for the last couple of days, we've been working on Fresno. They're an excellent football team. Some reports, top 25 preseason team. I think that's very well deserved. They have one of the better quarterbacks in the country in Derek Carr, who really can throw the ball both accurately and with tremendous power down the field. Will be very comparable to, I think, the kind of quarterback we played against last year when Teddy Bridgewater came to Piscataway. And they got a great receiving corps. All of them over 6 foot, athletic guys. Can really go up and get the ball. They're determined as a team philosophically to push the ball down the field. They graduated an excellent running back, but I think they've got a stable of running backs now that they're very confident in. And on defense, they remind me a lot of us. They play very hard. They run to the football very well. They do a lot of things out of their 3-4 package. There's a very extensive blitz package that they have. And Coach DeRuyter's done a good job transitioning that program from since he took over for Pat Hill. Questions?
Take questions for Coach Kyle Flood, please. Hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue, and then the operator will introduce you. And we can go ahead with questions, please.
And first we'll hear from B.J. Antelo with the Fresno Bee.
Hey, Coach Flood.
How you doing?
Good, thank you. Looks like you guys have a pretty young team going into the season. A lot of young players filling key positions. How do you feel about their progression going into the season opener?
Well, I think I'll probably be able to answer that question after the game on Thursday night, but I'm very pleased with how they've worked and how they've competed and how they've fit into our system. And now the last piece of that puzzle is going to be go out and compete on game day. We've got, I think, a nice mix of some older players and some younger players that are all fighting for playing time, and hopefully that will help us on special teams as well.
Have you ever been in a position where you're having to rely on this many young players going into a year?
Well, having only been a head coach for 1 year, I don't know. I don't know if I could say yes to that question. Last year, our team was a little bit different. Last year, we were a little bit older on defense and a little bit younger on offense. And this year, I think it'll be switched. We'll be a little bit older on offense and a little bit younger on defense. But I think it's the nature of college football. In college football every year, if you've got a quality program, you're going to have players that graduate and move on, and some are going to move on to the NFL, and some will move on to other things in life. And then you're going to have some younger players like we did, guys like Logan Ryan and Juwan Jamison, who come out early and leave for the NFL and appear to be doing pretty well at that level. But that's what college football is, and we're fortunate in football that the players have to stay for 3 years. But every year in college football, your team's going to look a little bit different.
And lastly, what are your thoughts on traveling to California to start the season, and for a kickoff that's basically 10:30 New Jersey time?
We're really looking forward to it as a program. It's exciting to be able to travel to the West Coast and play a program of the caliber of Fresno State. We have a tremendous amount of respect for that program and what they've done over time, and certainly for what Tim DeRuyter's done in just a year. They're a quality opponent. I think I enjoy it probably more because it's the first game of the year. I don't know if this is the kind of trip I would want to make mid-year, but we're going to come out, we're going to practice here on Tuesday, and then we'll fly out there on Tuesday and get acclimated to the time change. So that won't be an issue for us. It'll be 7:30 local time for us as well when we kick it off on Thursday night. And I had an experience doing this earlier in my career. In 2000, when I was at Hofstra University, we played Montana to open the year, and we did the same thing. We went out a couple days early, and I think that really was made it a positive experience for the players.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for Coach Flood, please? Take one more swipe here. Okay, seeing none, Coach, we thank you for the time this week. Look forward to talking to you through the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Coach. And again, that is Rutgers at Fresno State, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPNU. By Louisville head coach Charlie Strong. As we said, the Cardinals were 11-2 overall, 5-2 in the Big East last season, and tying for the Big East championship. This week, Louisville opens Sunday against Ohio at Papa John's Cardinal Stadium. That game will be a 3:30 p.m. start and will be on ESPN. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call this week and anticipate through the year. If you could take a minute to talk about your training camps thus far and then tell us what you're looking forward to with the opener Sunday against Ohio, please.
Well, we had an outstanding training camp, and the players really worked hard. And what's going to be key for us is just our whole approach about just how to manage the expectations. We had a veteran group coming back, and just looking forward to this upcoming season. Playing a really good team in Ohio, a team that's been to 4 straight bowl games. Have a lot of respect for Coach Solich and what he's done with that program. If you look at him offensively, they returned 8 starters. The running back, Bo Blankenship, had over 1,600 yards rushing. The quarterback's an outstanding player, moves well in the pocket. Had over 2,800 yards throwing and 18 touchdowns. And then defensively, they returned 6 starters. So it's going to be a great matchup. If you look at them a year ago, they went into Happy Valley and they beat Penn State. So we're going to have our work cut out for us.
We'll take questions for Coach Charlie Strong. Please hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue, and then the operator will introduce you. Give us a minute to get the questions in order. Go ahead with the first question, please.
And we'll hear from Don Wade with the Memphis Daily News.
Hey, Charlie, I just wondered if you could kind of address how you see the overall strength of this new conference, number one, and then number two, just kind of how you feel about starting the year with a Sunday game, but a game with a lot of national exposure as well.
Well, I think the league's going to be outstanding, and then you have some outstanding programs within the league right now. If you look at Cincinnati's an outstanding program, South Florida. Now you have Central Florida coming in the mix with Memphis, SMU. So you have some programs that are coming in that have won and they've been to bowl games. So I don't see no drop off in this league at all. Sunday's game, it's a game that we will get exposure because we're playing on a Sunday and playing against an outstanding opponent. So it's anytime we can play and we can get the exposure that we need, whatever day of the week it is, we're going to try to make sure that everyone across the country get a chance to see our program.
Take the next question, please.
And next we'll hear from Jody Demling with CardinalAuthority.com.
Two questions. First of all, I guess right tackle. Have you guys settled on anyone at right tackle? Where are you with Mack and Garcia? I guess maybe both will play. And then also, can you just address kind of the running back situation and how you guys will manage with so many different guys in that backfield?
Well, Jody, the right tackle position with Garcia and Mack both will play there, and with the running back position, you have some outstanding backs there with Sonoris, you have Dominique. We have some guys now with Corvin Lammers also play there. Now you have Dyer in the mix, so it's just going to be as the game goes, and then just how to flow the game. It's it's up to our offensive coordinator, running back coach, how they're going to get all those guys in the mix.
But is that tougher not having a per se feature back than maybe one of those guys? I mean, is it more of kind of the hot guy kind of that day?
Well, it's not so much hot guy. You just have a talented group of players there, and then they all want to play. So we got to find a way to give them a chance to go play.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any other questions for Coach Strong, please? Put one more swipe out there. Hey, Coach, looks like we're letting you off pretty easy this week. Thanks so much for the time.
Okay.
Look forward to talking to you during the season.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Right.
Bye.
And that's Louisville Coach Charlie Strong, Cardinals taking on Ohio University at Papa John's Cardinal Stadium at 3:30. That will be on ESPN.
Joins us.
Okay, we've been joined by SMU head coach June Jones. As we said, the Mustangs last year were 7-6 overall and went 5-3 in Conference USA. SMU opens their season Friday against Texas Tech at Gerald Ford Stadium. That game will be an 8 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff and will be on ESPN. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call this week. If you could take a minute to talk about how your training camp has gone and then tell us what you're looking forward to specifically as you open the season Friday.
Well, training camp's gone well. We had no injuries, and that's it seems like every training camp we lose 2 or 3 guys for the year, but this year we got through it healthy, and we have a lot of young kids, redshirt freshmen and sophomores, and we lost some players on defense, but I think we're more athletic, and I think we're anxious to see these kids play. We got some talented kids. Offensively, it's been fun having Hal Mummy around, and having him do a lot of things. We kind of blended some things we were doing the last few years here, some of the ideas he had, and it's been fun to watch him coach the punt team and do some different things that we haven't done before.
Coach, give us a word on maybe Texas Tech and what you're looking forward to against them.
Well, Texas Tech has a new coach, and they are, really excited down there to be playing for him, and we have played Cliff a bunch of times, both at Houston and at Texas A&M, and I'm sure he'll have some new wrinkles for what he's doing, but it's going to be a fast-paced game, and there's going to be a lot of balls in the air, and I think defensively they have a new coordinator. We don't really know too much about what they're doing on defense, but we've tried to prepare our kids for a little of everything.
Okay, we'll take questions for Coach June Jones, please. Hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue, and then the operator will introduce you. Go right ahead with questions, please.
Thank you. We'll hear from Phil Stuckenborg with the Commercial Appeal Memphis.
William, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I was going to ask you just about, this year you'll be, I guess, looking for your 5th straight postseason appearance. Can you talk about the development of this program, and is it where you kind of hoped it would be at this stage?
Yeah, well, we've kind of, what we set out to do was become relevant again. Basically, they had been non-relevant for many years, 25 years, and so, whenever you come in, you try to turn around the attitude, turn around the beliefs, and I think we've accomplished some of those things now. I think the system or the school is set up to be successful now. I don't know that it was a very difficult thing to get turned around, but we got it turned around in the second year, and now you're recruiting. You're getting chances because kids believe that you're going to win, and because the school has we put a lot of guys into the National Football League, so all of a sudden recruiting now, they're starting to consider us, where the first couple years we weren't considered even as a potential school for a lot of those guys to come to. So from that standpoint, it is certainly getting to where it needs to be.
Were those obstacles you kind of foresaw when you took over the program? Did you expect?
There were similar obstacles as to what happened in Hawaii, but I thought that here there were some things that I wasn't aware of that kind of set us back the first couple of years, and it was mostly internal things. I think now, since we've been here, we finally are starting to get some of those things corrected, but it's taken 5 years, and this is maybe the first semester that we have a lot of those things solved, from helping kids and tutoring and having an academic center set up. We lost a lot of kids that we recruited because we were unable to help them.
Thank you.
And are we ready for our next question?
Take the next question, please.
Don Ward with the Memphis Daily News.
Yeah, June, given everything you just said about kind of, remaking the brand of SMU, how long do you think it'll take new conference to kind of establish a reputation?
Well, I think that the new conference, when I came to Conference USA, we were at the bottom of Conference USA, and, over the 4 or 5 year period, we kind of have climbed into the top third, maybe, of Conference USA. And when we made the change to the American Athletic Conference, the competition all of a sudden went way up. There's better teams, or more athletic teams. In fact, I've kind of made this statement before. I thought that UCF was one of the more talented teams in Conference USA, and every team in American Athletic Conference looks like a UCF on film. They got a lot of athletes, a lot of physical players. So to answer your question, we climbed up into the top third of Conference USA. Now we're going into a new athletic conference where everything is elevated again, and so now we got to climb our way into the top part of this conference.
Do recruits have a handle on what the American Athletic Conference is? How long will that take?
I think the recruits respond more to the television than anything else. It's a new conference. I think it's we have a heck of a plan and a heck of an idea. I think the ESPN contract that we signed is really big for recruiting. Pretty much every one of our games and the next year will be on, and we have almost all of them on TV this year. So I think the fact that the exposure that the conference has been able to give us via the commissioner's job of getting that done, I think that's probably more significant than anything else.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Coach June Jones, please? Give it one more second to see if anyone wants to chime in. We had missed one last time. Coach, looks like we're good for this week. We thank you for your time this week.
All right, thank you.
During the season. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. That's SMU and June Jones. The Mustangs hosting Texas Tech Friday at Gerald Ford Stadium, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN.
And Coach Pasqualoni has joined.
And we've been joined by UConn coach Paul Pasqualoni. The Huskies last year were 5-7 overall, 2-5 in the Big East. Huskies open their season Thursday against Towson at Rentschler Field. That game will be at 7:30 p.m. And will be seen on ESPN3. Coach, thanks for joining us on the call this week and this year. If you could take a minute to talk about how your training camp has progressed so far, and then tell us specifically what you're looking forward to Thursday against Towson.
Well, I think we've practiced well. I think we've had a good preseason camp. We had some bumps and bruises earlier on, but seem to be getting healthy here at the right time. So hopefully we'll have everyone for the game on Thursday evening, outside of Andrew Adams, who had a shoulder, who will be out, and true freshman Junior Joseph, who will be out for this game. But other than that, I think that we could expect to have everybody. We're expecting a very tough game against Townsend. They've got an excellent offensive scheme, very, very good offensive line. Terrence West is probably one of the best backs we'll face this year. Outstanding wide receiver in Spencer Wilkins. Leon Kennard was here at UConn and transferred to Townsend, so we know Leon. He's a very, very good athlete, very good in the slot, does things well. Really like their tight end, I think he's an outstanding player, an outstanding pass receiver. Defensively, obviously, they put a lot of pressure on you, so it's going to be a big challenge for us to be able to, handle the amount of pressure we're going to get from them. Really like Gaddis, their middle linebacker. I think he's really a good player. Obviously, Love is an excellent player. Their defensive front plays, they have a history of playing very, very tough and physical with great effort. So we're looking forward to the start of this year and really having probably the toughest opener. Without question, this will be the toughest opener we've had, at least since I've been around here.
We'll take questions for Coach Paul Pasqualoni. Please hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue. The operator will introduce you. And we can go ahead with questions, please.
And we'll hear from Christopher Heidel with Herb FM Radio Baltimore.
Hey, Coach. Talk about Towson football team. What have you seen on the video? I know everybody's been doing preseason practice and all that. So what have you seen on video?
Well, offensively, you see a team that does very, very multiple. They utilize multiple personnel groupings, make a big commitment to run the ball and use formations, to really attack the defense and to kind of more or less make you play left-handed with all the unbalanced line and the shifting and the motions that go on. So they do a terrific job there, and then at the same time, they've done well with their 3 wide receiver set, and with their tight end, that's almost like a 4 wide receiver set. So they get the ball out quickly. They do a nice job with their protections. Their offensive line, is a veteran group, so they do well there. So you see a team that's very, very capable of being explosive and scoring points defensively. You see a lot of pressure, as I said. They can force you into some mistakes, and we're gonna have to be able to handle that pressure, both in the run and in the pass game with protection. So we see a team that competes at a very high level. Their conference is an outstanding conference. I think the history of their conference is that there are teams in their league that beat 1A teams year in and year out. There's a history of that there. And they're a outstanding team.
What about Coach Ambrose? What type of coach is he? He actually told me last week that one of his first college games as a coach was against you up in Syracuse. So what was he like when he was first coming out as a coach?
Well, that goes back to 2004, and they had Danny Orlowski up there, and they had a very, very good team, outstanding team. They were very difficult, to prepare for. We had a pretty good team, in those years at Syracuse, so we did okay. But he's. I think he wants to run the ball, and I think he wants to play, really physical football, and he kind of established that here with UConn and the offense here, in those years. But at the same time, I think that in comparison to those years, I think they throw the ball much more now. I don't recall UConn being in as much pass offense in those years. So Coach Ambrose, I think, has done an excellent job of adding so much pass offense to his approach to offense. He's always been a great run guy, tough guy, but now they're just doing an excellent job of really incorporating, spreading you out, and throwing the ball.
Well, one last question for you. Talk about your team. What do you have to improve this year? Because last year it seemed like you were in some games, and then we kind of lost it in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we were not as consistently. We didn't play as consistent. A year ago or even the year before that. We've kind of had the same MO for 2 years in a row here, in the sense that we play really good games against quality opponents, and then at the same time, we've had the misfortune of turning the ball over too much, of giving up a play on defense at times. Even though we've played outstanding defense, we still at times have given up a play that has hurt us when the offense is struggling. So we've got to play a complementary game, and we've got to do a better job of that than we've done over the past 2 years. And without question, we have to do a better job of taking care of the ball, especially when the game is on the line.
All right, Coach. Good luck on Thursday night.
All right, thanks.
And next I'll move to Don Wade with the Memphis Daily News.
Yeah, Coach. How important do you feel this first season is for the conference to basically help everybody, I guess, from a recruiting standpoint, for at least a couple of teams to make some real noise?
Well, I think it's really important, and I think when you look down the American Athletic Conference, the football schedules, I think you see plenty of opportunity against really quality opponents for the football members of the American. So I think the opportunity's there. I think it's important that we go out this year as a conference and show evidence that we can compete at a very, very high level against high-quality teams. And I think that that would be a great way to start this first season as a new conference.
Are recruits at all confused with all the conference jumping about who's where and who when you talk to guys about who some of the other teams are in this league?
Well, I think the recruits are certainly interested, in the level of football and the quality of the opponent that you're playing, and the bowl tie-ins that you have the opportunity to participate in. There's certainly no question about that. But at the same time, we feel, I know this. I know that the teams that have been added, to this conference, to the American this year, and then again next year. When you look at our conference this year, we've got Louisville at 9, I think, or something like that. And you've got Rutgers and Cincinnati, receiving votes, and Central Florida receiving votes in the top 25. And then you got East Carolina, who's not even in our league yet, but will be in another year. So I think that the fans and the general public are going to find out that there are really quality teams and programs, in this conference, and I think that the results at the end of the season, it doesn't make much sense for me to talk about it now. I think it's like preseason polls and preseason rankings. They're kind of irrelevant to the reality of the true season. But I think at the end of the season, we're going to see that this team, this league, is a very, very capable league.
You can take the next question, please.
And we'll move on to Phil Seckenborg with the Commercial Appeals Memphis.
Well, how are you?
Good.
I was going to ask you, kind of following on that same vein. Dean Jones was talking a little bit about the impact that the television exposure will have as this league is up and running. Can you discuss that?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's certainly, we've got such great media markets in this league, and obviously June's down there in Dallas and Highland Park. So, the fact that we've got Houston and SMU down in the state of Texas, and we all know what football's about down there, and so that's outstanding. Where you people are in Memphis, I think there's tremendous passion for football. We've played in the Liberty Bowl. I've been down there in the Liberty Bowl, so I kind of know a little bit about what the approach there is to football. We've got teams in South Florida and in Central Florida, and Central Florida and South Florida, two outstanding programs. So we're in the Northeast. This year we've got Rutgers in the metropolitan area, certainly, for another season. So I just think that the exposure in the amount of households and the people all over the country, they're going to see this brand, see this conference, see the logo, see the marks, hear about the American Athletic Conference and the football teams in it, I think by the end of the season, people are going to know who we are.
Any other questions for Coach Pasqualoni, please? Coach, we thank you for the
guys.
time to speak
Thanks a lot.
during the season. And that is UConn at home Thursday night against Towson at Rensselaer Field. That will be 7:30 p.m. start on ESPN3. Moving on now to the University of Houston and head coach Tony Levine. The Cougars were 5-7 overall, 4-4 in Conference USA last season. Houston opens its season Friday against Southern. That will be at Reliant Stadium, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN3. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call today and through the season. If you could take a minute to tell us about your training camp a little bit, and then talk about what you're looking forward to in the opener against Southern on Friday, please.
Training camp has gone extremely well. The 3 weeks have flown by, and our kids are excited to get out and tackle somebody else and score touchdowns against someone else. We've had great competition. We've got, of our 105 kids that went through camp, we have 43 of which are newcomers to our program, and only 14 seniors. So I'm excited about the growth they've shown. The returning guys, since we coached them last in the middle of April for spring practice, and I think we've got a talented group of freshmen and newcomers as well. So we're looking forward to getting underway Friday night, again with the building of our new stadium going on as I speak right now. We'll have 5 games at Reliant Stadium, which is where our opener will be held. 1 game later on in the season against Memphis at BBVA Stadium, where the Houston Dynamo soccer team plays, and then 1 game in November against Cincinnati at Rice's Stadium. So we're excited to get going, and looking forward to Friday night getting here.
Take questions for Coach Tony Levine, please. Hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue, and then the operator will introduce you.
No questions. All right, thank you.
Hold on. Not so fast, Coach.
No, I'm just
someone
kidding.
Here? Yeah. And we can go ahead with questions, please.
I will hear from Joseph Durate with Houston Chronicle.
What's his name? Who?
Joseph?
Good morning, Coach.
Who is this?
This is Joseph over at the Chronicle.
Joseph, how are you?
Hey, good morning. Hey,
Good morning.
You hit on the playing at different venues this year. You know, how is that going to impact your guys in terms of not playing in one place this year, just kind of having to deal with the different environments, the different surfaces and such?
Well, it's going to impact our guys in a positive way, and our young men are really looking forward to not only playing in Reliant, which is one of the best NFL stadiums in the country, but playing over at BBVA as well. A lot of our student athletes, and I think a lot of people in Houston, or some people in Houston rather, have not been into that beautiful brand new soccer facility, and we're excited about it. You know, in terms of moving around, it's like the movie Hoosiers. The field dimensions are going to be the same, and the fans sitting in the stands are going to be supporting our program. So it's if you're a ticket manager and in charge of parking, I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for the 5 or 6 games in town this year that they've got to make adjustments for. But it's a small price to pay for getting a brand new beautiful stadium on campus in 2014. And again, I speak for everybody involved in our program. We're really excited about the venues we'll be playing at this season.
Lastly, Coach, you have any updates on Marquette?
Not at this time. I could literally know something here any minute. And Joseph, if I get news, I will certainly let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Coach Levine, please? Coach, looks like we're going to let you off easy this week, and thanks for your time today and during the season. Look forward to talking to you during the rest of the year.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
You know what? Coach, can you hold on just a minute? We did have someone chime in here.
Sure.
All right, thank you. We can go to the next question.
We'll hear from Don Wade with the Memphis Daily News.
Hey, Tony, how are you today?
Good, Don. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm writing a story on offensive linemen, and I know you've coached in a lot of different places, and I wondered if you could just talk about how they can kind of be a breed apart, maybe a little smarter than the average Bear, and they have to be kind of flexible, playing different positions, and maybe even some of the most intimidating eaters, if you will, that you may have seen over the years among offensive linemen.
Well, I think I think sometimes people can stereotype a little bit by position, and when you talk about offensive line, and I think there's some character traits and some qualities that tend to surface with that group. I mean, you see guys there that certainly off the field can be teddy bears, but when the ball's snapped, they can have a mean streak to them. When I think sometimes of that position group, you think back to the offensive line from the Denver Broncos years back that had a pact that they would never talk to the media ever, and kind of formed a bond that way. I've heard the phrase a number of times. You like that group to play like a nickel and not 5 pennies, and they've got to be at times interchangeable, but they've got to certainly all 5 of them be on the same page. And I think among other ways to win football games, it starts up front on both sides of the football, and it starts to have a successful offense. You got to have a successful offensive line. So that's a special group, and I think they take on at times the personality of their position coach, and it's a unique group always, and a group that's certainly got a lot of personality.
They have to, more than anybody else, I guess, they have to be comfortable with the idea that, and I know that this is cliche, but they only get attention when they mess up, and there's, nobody's looking at them when the running back hits the end zone.
No, that's an excellent point. The offensive linemen individually get to be seen on ESPN if they have a false start, or if they get a holding call, or their man beats them and sacks the quarterback. That's exactly right. So, their name is rarely mentioned on TV or shows up in the newspaper, which to me makes them the ultimate team player. They're trying to block anywhere from 4 to 6 seconds and trust and rely on their teammates, the quarterback, the running backs, the receivers, to move the chains and get the ball in the end zone. And it's exactly right. There's not a whole lot of glory to that position, yet without them, you're not going to be successful offensively.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Don.
And next to move on to Phil Stuckenborg with the Commercial Appeal Memphis.
Morning, how are you?
Good, Phil. How are you?
Real quickly, I was just going to ask you a little bit about your just an update on your quarterback situation. I know David has been with you for quite a while, and then just the play of true freshman.
We on Friday evening we publicly named David Polland as our starter. Freshman John O'Corn will be the backup, and they will both play in our first game Friday night. And we had great competition here this fall. We had 3 newcomers join our program that are all winners and very, very talented. Again, David Polland has quite a bit of starting experience for us, both as a true freshman and last year as a redshirt sophomore. Got a vast majority of the reps all spring because the 3 newcomers hadn't arrived on campus yet, and improved tremendously. Kind of one of the guys I mentioned in general terms earlier, from the last time we coached him in the middle of April to when we started coaching him again 3 weeks ago. 2 freshmen that joined our program, John O'Corn and Greg Ward, have some similarities in terms of great poise. They seem older than 18 years old, and they're both winners. Greg can do some things with his feet, and had a great camp as well. He's very accurate when he's throwing on the run, and can extend plays. And again, John is the tallest, the biggest of our quarterbacks at 6'4", really has a great pocket presence about him and has a tremendous. And then Billy Kosh is a junior college transfer who's got great leadership, brings a different dimension to that room. It gives us very quality depth at the quarterback position. Was coming off a knee injury he sustained at the end of last season at Butler Community College, had surgery in January, and so that limited him this past spring and summer, but he was cleared full go about a month ago.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, now we'll thank you for the time this week and look forward to talking to you during the season.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, and that is Houston against Southern at Reliance Stadium, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN3. We'll move on now to the University of Cincinnati and head coach Tommy Tuberville. The Bearcats last year were 10-3 overall, 5-2 in the Big East, tying for the Big East championship. This week, Cincinnati opens its season Saturday against Purdue. That will be at Nippert Stadium. Noontime start on ESPNU. Coach, we thank you for joining us on the call today and throughout the season. If you could take a minute to tell us about your training camp and how that's gone, and then tell us specifically what you're looking forward to Saturday against Purdue, please.
Thank you very much. It's been a good camp. The first time in my career that I've ever taken a team off campus, and we go to a place called Higher Ground. They've done here for about 14 years, and it was very successful. It was a great time to do that for us as a young new coaching staff, because we needed to get to know the players as much as they needed to get to know us in a setting for 24 hours a day for 2 weeks. So everything went good. We had a very physical camp. We've still got a lot of work to do. Probably 60% of our starters will be new starters for next year, and whether it's changing position or a backup playing a starting role now or a junior college player coming in. But we're still work in progress. I think that our team has got an opportunity to win some games this year, but we've got to be a lot more consistent in what we've done in the spring and in camp. I think our offense is getting better. You know, Eddie Grand coming from Florida State and pretty much doing a lot of things that they did there is going to give us an opportunity, number one, to find out if these kids can do some different things on the offense. But it all starts with a quarterback. We haven't named a quarterback yet, a starting quarterback. We have two seniors that are battling it out, and hadn't made my mind up yet whether we're going to even let one of them know by the time we get to the first game, but both will play. Defensively, we've added some junior college players to our secondary and to our defensive line that I think will help. We much improved from spring, but again, we need to play somebody else to find out where we're at. But overall, it's been a good camp, but we need to play another team. We need to go out and find out our strengths and our weaknesses and see what we need to work on.
We'll take questions for Coach Tommy Tuberville. Please hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue, and then the operator will introduce you. And we can go right ahead with questions, please.
And we'll hear from Don Wade with the Memphis Daily News.
Hey, Tommy, when you're trying to make a decision on a quarterback like you are now, how do you balance kind of the mental, physical, and emotional components that each guy might bring?
Well, that's a good question, and it's very hard. I'm not one of those that likes to go to this far down to the end to find a starting quarterback. And Brandon Kay went into camp as our number one guy, and then after about a week, then he started to have some arm problems in terms of throwing a lot of passes, and so then we moved Munchie up to first team. He had a very good 4 or 5 days while Brandon was out, so it kind of puts you in a situation of you've got two guys that are seniors, same age, and it's not that we can make a decision today, let one of them play, but we want to make sure we make the right one, not just for the players, but also for the entire team. And you can practice two quarterbacks. That's all I practice. I don't practice three. And so both of them have been taking snaps with one offense, and both have been taking it with number twos. So they get the same amount of reps. But, it put me in a little bit of a quandary, too, of who needs to start. But it's not like we have one senior and one sophomore. Both are seniors. Both have played. Both have had success. And I think the team are backing both of them. So very unusual situation.
Do the so-called intangibles come into play more at the quarterback position than others?
Yeah, it does. It's one of those that as much in the huddle, in the dressing room, during timeouts than anything else. Again, at the higher ground where we went to camp, I mean, it was football for 24 hours, and both those kids were great in the cafeteria, great in the weight room, very good in meetings, team meetings, the bonfires that we had at night, and so we won't make a wrong decision, either one of them that we put out there, in terms of the players that they're playing with. So it's a very unique situation to have two quarterbacks that have played and won games and had their success and have good leadership qualities.
And Mr. Wade, were you done with your question?
One other thing, Tommy, just, different conferences kind of develop different reputations, physical, offensive, whatever it might be. When we get to the end of this first year of the American, what do you think how are they going to identify this league?
What I've seen, and again, I don't know a lot about the teams in our conference because I haven't played against them in the last few years, coached against them. I do know some of the coaches, but I think that you're going to find that there's probably more experienced coaches in this conference than there are in most other conferences. Guys that have done several different things, whether it's the option or whether a drop-back pass team, how they play their defense, what they do in the kicking game. And so I would think at the end of the year, this year, that you're going to find that a lot of these teams are going to be traditional teams that have also a niche of doing some of the spread things in terms of throwing the ball down the field, short passing game, spreading the ball out. Some might even huddle. Some might go fast. But I think if you just look at the Paul Pasqualonis and the guys that have been around football a long time, you're going to find some old-fashioned football in this conference at the end, which is not bad, which seems to go around in a circle and end up anyway. So I'm anxious to play. I'm anxious to coach against all these coaches and go against their personalities and see if what our personality and philosophy that we've done with this team will fit and work against anybody in this league at the end of the year.
Thank you.
And next we'll move on to Christopher Heidel with Herb FM Radio Baltimore.
Hey, Coach, last year when you guys went to the Beck Bowl, I know you didn't coach. You were watching the team down in Charlotte. What did you see with your team playing against Duke?
Well, I thought it was a game that the players overcame a lot of adversity. There were just a couple of coaches that stayed behind from the previous staff that worked with them. The consistency wasn't out there on the field. There was a lot of times that there was some indecision in terms of special teams, personnel on the field for offense, personnel on the field on defense. But that happens, when you don't have the continuity of the staff that have been with you during the year. I saw this group fight back. They were down several times. They got down a couple of touchdowns. They were down 7 points or several points with a couple minutes to go in the game, and then fought back and won the game. So there was a lot of maturity on the team. Now, we lost several of those guys that made a difference in that game, and so that's what I've been selling of these young players that are going to play. You're filling in for whether it's a tight end or a defensive end or a running back or a defensive back. You're filling in for guys that have had a lot of success that you've got to uphold your end of the bargain. So those are things that we've been working on for the past few weeks in our camp.
You're familiar with the Big Ten, so what's it like playing against Purdue and Illinois the first two games of the year?
Well, two new coaches, one brand new that is kind of like me this week. We're trying to coach there, trying to figure out what he's got, and we're trying to figure out what we have. They're not too far down the road. Then next week, a fairly new staff that's come in the last couple of years. So two Big Ten teams, but it doesn't make any difference. I tell our team every week we go play, and we go play somebody that's different. They just have a different color uniform. You don't worry about what conference they're in or how many games they've won. You just worry about matching your skills against theirs and try to win a lot of individual battles during the game and play three parts of football: offense, defense, and special teams. So we do play Purdue this week. But you know what? We worked against ourselves more than anything, just trying to get the speed of the game down, trying to get our offense and defense trying to play the speed that we feel like they need to play. Whatever Purdue does, we're not going to really know a whole lot. We're just going to hopefully we know enough technique and fundamentals that we can get by on in a four-quarter game.
Well, with the new name for this league used to be the Big East. Do you think it's going to take a while for this league to become back to where they were, or is it just the same as they picked up last year?
No, I think it's going to be a good league. Of course, we've got some teams that are playing in it for the last time, and they're going to move on. Then we've got some new teams coming in next year. You know, it's college football. You know, it's going to be a very good conference. Number one, because we're all in metro cities. You know, this is not a town of just a league of just colleges that are in small towns like some of the conferences. You know, every team in this conference has a lot of ability and the ability to have a lot of people in their city that they can draw from and bring and put people in the stands, and if they don't come, they watch it on television. I think it's going to be a very unique conference. I can remember being at the University of Miami back in the late 80s when we were trying to get into the Big East at the University of Miami and finally got in. It really enhanced the University of Miami being in a conference. So we're excited about the American Athletic Conference. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be interesting. A lot of teams playing each other for the first time, and a lot of different personalities, coaches, and we cover a lot of states, and so it's going to be a very attractive conference, I think, for a lot of athletes to come to all of our teams in our league to play a diverse group.
Well, speaking of Miami, I was trying to get a hold of you this summer about Warren Sapp, who went into the Hall of Fame this year for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You were the defensive guy at Miami. What was he like?
Oh, he was a heck of an athlete. You know, we recruited him. He was a tight end, weighed about 225 pounds. I remember moving him to defensive, asked him to go to defensive line. He said, "Can I eat if I go over there?" I said, "You can eat all you want," and he did. He got up close to 300 pounds pretty quick, but he's just a great athlete. And you know, we had 1 year before Cortez Kennedy that did the same thing, that went into the Hall of Fame 2 years ago, that was played the position. Warren took his position when Cortez graduated. So long line of great athletes down there on the defensive line for the University of Miami, and I was fortunate to have been around some of them.
Well, good luck with I hope you have a good year in Cincinnati, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you.
We have time for one more for Coach Tuberville, please.
And we'll hear from Phil Stuckenborg with the Commercial Appeals Memphis.
Morning, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, I want to ask you, going back to the higher ground, and were you reluctant at first or apprehensive, and now is it something you would gladly do again?
Oh, I didn't know what to think. You know, when I got here, they said we need to go out there and look at this place that we're going to take the team for 2 weeks. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. We're taking the team somewhere else, and it's about 30, 40 minutes outside of town, and I drove out last spring and looked at it and talked to the people that run it, and it was perfect. I mean, two turf practice fields, nothing but football, great food. The players had their rooms, and you know, you finish practice and they go 5 minutes from their dressing room and lay down and sleep for a couple hours, and then you got them right back out there, either meetings or lifting weights or whatever. It builds a lot of team camaraderie. You find out a lot about a person when you're around them for 24 hours a day instead of just, you know, 6 or 7 hours a day when you're on campus. So I didn't know what to think about it, but after going through it for the first year, I would highly recommend it for anybody to do something like that and give them the opportunity. And actually, the cost is cheaper for us taking them off campus and having them on campus, which I was amazed to just listening to the cost. So we've had a lot of people that I've understood in the last 14 years try to come in and move out the Cincinnati Bearcats and bring their university farther away and stay in that place. But we've got a diamond in the rough, and we know it, and now I know a lot about it, and I was very encouraged after leaving there for 2 weeks about how much closer our football team became, coaching and coaching staff, players, everybody, kind of believing more of what we're doing because we'd spent so much time together.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, we thank you for the time today and look forward to talking to you during the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right. That's Coach Tommy Tuberville in Cincinnati. Bearcats open Saturday against Purdue at noon on ESPNU. Moving on now to the University of South Florida and head coach Willie Taggart. The Bulls were 3-9 overall, 1-6 in the Big East last season. This season, USF opens Saturday against McNeese State. That game will be at Raymond James Stadium at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN3. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call today and during the season. If you could take a minute to tell us about your training camp and tell us what you're looking forward to with the opener Saturday against McNeese State, please.
Well, first, thanks for having me on. And our training camp, we had a chance to take our kids to Vero Beach and really try to bring our team closer, which was great for us. I thought it was a perfect environment for our guys for what we're trying to do here. And one of the first things I wanted to do was try to bring our team closer together and get to know each other. And that environment provided that for us down at Vero, and those guys did a great job for us, and it was very convenient for our players. And I think we got a lot done. I think our guys got better. You know, they understood what we were doing a lot better, and I felt like our coaches came closer together too. So really looking forward to seeing our guys go out, and I know they're ready to go out and hit someone else other than themselves, and really ready to see what our guys can do. They've been trained. Now we're ready to see them go perform.
Take questions for Coach Taggart. Please hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue, and the operator will introduce you. We can go ahead with the first question, please.
And we'll hear from Dave Berry with runningthebulls.com.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Two questions. Number one, obviously the biggest question, you made your decision this past weekend on Matt Floyd as your starter. Talk a little bit about what Floyd brings to the Bulls, especially with your offense.
Well, Matt, one thing we noticed with Matt, he's gotten a lot better than where he was in spring ball when he came to training camp. Matt was, again, he was night and day better than what he was then. And even from a leadership part of it, you see him starting to be a little more vocal, you know, and seems like he's really focused. You know, he doesn't get rattled easy, and he made a lot of plays for us, throwing the ball, but also running the ball, running around, you know. And I think whenever you have a guy that can get you at least 2 first downs with his feet, he can throw the football. You got a really good chance to have some success on offense, and he was able to do that and do it consistently and get us in the right plays. And he made the play that he needed to.
Second question, Coach, and I know you have been bombarded with this particular question. Talk about the arrival of Aaron Lynch. You told us basically that you saw a lot of growth out of Aaron since you got there.
Yeah, he's had a fantastic camp. You know, I think the kid is hungry, and he hadn't played football over a year, over a year, and longer than a year. And he's fired up, and you can tell as practice go and we get closer to the game. You hear him a lot in practice, the excitement, and I mean, the kid come out and practice hard every single day, and you appreciate that as a coach. You know, for a guy to be that young and everybody telling him how good he can be, and he's staying humble and he's continuing to work. I think that's been great for our football team to see that, you know. But you also see the potential that everybody's talking about, you know. And like we said with Aaron, it's all potential. You got to go out and do something. You got to make it happen. You know, you got to live up, not necessarily live up to that, but if you go out and do what you're capable of, then those things can do big things for you. And I think he's decided for it. Actually, I know he is, and he's had a fantastic training camp, and I'm excited to see him play.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
And next we'll move to Joey Johnson with Tampa Tribune.
Willie, speaking again about the quarterback situation, how close of a call was it to go with Matt? And moving forward, do you anticipate the competition to continue as weeks go on, and could somebody else rise to the starting position at some point in the season?
Well, it was very close. I mean, probably one of the hardest decisions I've made when it comes to picking a position guy, you know, in my head coaching experience. You know, I never had 3 guys that was competing for a job. Really 4 guys, but it came down to those 3, Matt, Bobby, and Steven Bench. And it was tough. It was close. I mean, I talked to all of our staff. We talked in the staff meeting and got everybody's perception and what they thought. And then, you know, made what we thought was best for our football team right now. And Matt understand we're not going to go in game by game. He worried about his position has been taken. You know, we're going to get behind Matt and support him, but he also know that we need production from that position too. He's got to do something too, just like the rest of our guys, and we expect for him to do something, you know. But the good thing about it, we know we have some other quarterbacks that's capable of getting it done too, and those guys will continue to compete, and I think he's just going to make us a better football team overall.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And do we have any other questions for Coach Willie Taggart, please? Coach, well, thank you for your time this week. Look forward to talking to you during the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that is USF against Tennessee State Saturday at Raymond James Stadium, 7 p.m. on ESPN3. We will move on to Temple University and head coach Matt Rule. The Owls were 4-7 overall, 2-5 in the Big East last season. This year, Temple opens its season Saturday at Notre Dame, 3:30 p.m. kickoff, and that game will be on NBC. Coach, thanks for joining us on the call this week and through the season. If you could take a minute to tell us about your training camp and then tell us what you're looking forward to with the opener out in South Bend.
Well, we've had a good, hard physical training camp. I think we've really established the way we want to play and the way we want to run the program in terms of an emphasis on effort and tackling and blocking and all just the fundamentals that with this team needed to happen. This Saturday is just obviously for us is a tremendous opportunity to play in a storied place, play against both historically and recently one of the best programs in the nation. So for our players and for our program, it's a great opportunity to go out and we respect their tradition. We respect what they've done. We respect what they did last year, and that's what we want to do. So it's a great opportunity for us to go experience that firsthand as we try to build this here at Temple.
And we'll take questions for Coach Matt Rule, please. Hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue, and the operator will introduce you. We can go right ahead with questions, please.
And we'll hear from Christopher Heidel with Herb FM Radio Baltimore.
Hey, Coach Matt. Talk about Notre Dame. What did you see in the film? Because I know last year they were undefeated until they played that Alabama game down in Florida. What did you see on film that you might see on Saturday?
I think with them, personnel-wise, they have probably the best defensive line in the country. Louis Nix, we're probably not sleeping around here thinking about him. I mean, he whatever he weighs, 350 pounds, he's a dominant college football player that takes over games, establishes line of scrimmage, and basically won't allow, both him and Tua together, they're two probably top 5, top 10 picks in next year's NFL draft. So I think everything for that program on defense starts with them, and then on the other side, they have Prince Simba over there who can pass rush, who can drop, who's just a really versatile player. So, while you can try to scheme, hey, maybe this play looks good, maybe that play looks good, defensively they just have such a fantastic defensive line that really takes over games. And then, offensively, Coach Kelly's been doing it for a long time. I mean, they can run the football. They utilize their tight ends. I think Nicholas is going to be the next in that line of tight ends. He brings size and athleticism, and then they get in and out of empty. So you're looking at a quarterback who has 18 career starts. I mean, he's done it. He's come in. He's won games. So they really are the total package on both offense and defense.
When you guys get there on Saturday, I know you guys are Friday. You travel on Friday. Would you get an opportunity to tour the stadium and get everybody's all out of their system before they play on Saturday?
Yeah, we're going to go to the stadium. For a lot of our kids, they've faced UCLA. They've been to Penn State. They've been to Beaver Stadium. So they've had some of those big game day experiences. But at the same time, we also want to go there. We want to see the stadium. We want to visualize where we're playing the next day, and so we will go there when we land.
And with your last year, I know you're a new coach. Last year, Temple did a lot of running. They had a good running back. Are you guys going to open up the the play calling a little bit better? You more wideouts, more running, and what's this, against Notre Dame?
Yeah, I think we hope to be a more balanced offense. Coming from the Giants, there, we always strive to be about 50-50. And we just want to get everybody involved. We want all the receivers to touch the ball. We want the running backs to touch the ball. So, personnel-wise, we have fullbacks, we have tight ends. We have a bunch of different guys we want to get on the field. So it'll be a much more open offense this season.
And one last question. I know you were with the Giants last year, and now you're here in Philadelphia. How tough was it the first month there, you guys practicing? You hear a lot of people saying you better win better, or do you think Philly's a little more tougher than the Meadowlands?
Well, I spent 6 years here as an assistant coach, and before my 1 year in New York. So Philly loves a winner and expects a winner. So I think everyone here at Temple is hungry to get back to my last 3 years here. We were bowl eligible all 3 years, and so I think our players and university and fans all want to get back to going to bowl games and producing winning teams. Hopefully we can do that this season.
Coach Matt, good luck, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you very much.
And next we'll move on to John Mitchell with Philadelphia Inquirer.
Hey, Matt, good morning.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Matt, can you just talk about the importance of the offensive line gelling? Now the training camp is over, and you talked earlier about that pass rush, and you're going to get a tough test right out of the box. Can you just talk about the guys like Kyle Flynn and Peter White?
Yeah, I think inside, whether it's Kyle Flynn, Pete White, Jeff Whittingham, they're going to face, four of the best, defensive linemen, that they'll face all year, and they know that maybe in their lives. So, Kyle's a tough physical kid. Pete White's a guy that's played. I believe he's even played Notre Dame when he was at Maryland. So, they're going to have to. They can't allow it to become one-on-one battles. They're going to have to work as a group and work in conjunction with each other to try to turn this into two-on-ones and get doubles where we can and try to neutralize their strength, which is obviously the defensive line. So they've got to work together as a group, and they've got to just they can't take a play off, and I think they know that. But that's got to happen very quickly for them, and hopefully after this week it'll carry over into all the other games throughout the season.
And how important is it for Tyler to find the underneath stuff if that front line is coming that field really strong and hard?
Yeah, I think the first thing you can do to help yourself is to find some sort of a way to run the football. Especially with a quarterback making his first start, there's no greater friend to the quarterback than the run game. If we allow them to pin their ears back and just rush, then it makes for a long day. So we have to manufacture some sort of run game, and at the same time get the ball out of their hands quickly when we do decide to drop back and throw it, because you're not going to have a lot of time. So you're not really trying to defeat coverage. You're trying to defeat pass rush this week.
How good is this? It's kind of, I know you're at the NFL level, but where is this Notre Dame team compared to where it was last year? Because they come into a different team. They're going to change the quarterback, missing a huge player at linebacker. How different are they from what they presented last season?
Well, I think the thing about Coach Kelly is, he's built the type of program that's, kind of built to last, and I'm sure they'll probably have a next man in philosophy. Whereas, players graduate to the NFL, they've obviously recruited well enough that the next guys that come in are also going to be outstanding players. So our team recognizes that all 11 guys on the field for them are going to be outstanding football players. And while there's names like, Tuitt and Nix and those guys right now on defense, that, we also know the other guys that maybe are going to step in, whether it's Calabrese or Fox. They're outstanding football players, and they're going to play well as well. So what we have to do is we have to focus on us and really just try to make sure that we work as a group. We can't go out, there's 11 different guys. We have to work as a group to face a team of this caliber.
Is there anything you guys can do to prepare for that? I know you guys have been practicing with music, and I guess that's going to help you. But, how do you get those guys mentally to be ready for what they're going to be hit with, Matt?
I think it's just it's a year-long commitment to to excelling in the moment, and this is part of the process for us. Even from the first series to the second series, just having the ability as a group, trying to build a team that's together enough that they can, regroup when things go poorly and they can stay calm when things go well and just play the next series. So for us, it's just learning how to compete at this level, play in and play out, and trying to, win games at the end. So, it's really everything that we do, so we can try to simulate game day, we can take them to the stadium and all that. But at this point, those are just, small little last-minute psychological, aids. The bulk of the work was done in the winter when we were out there, running in the snow, trying to learn right then, hey, don't pay attention to what's around you, just concentrate on the job at hand. So hopefully that'll pay off in our mental approach on Saturday.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, John.
We have time for one more question for Coach Rule, please.
And we'll move on to Lamont Pope with Chicago Sun-Times.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Hey, how are you today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Well, if you can just talk a little bit about some of Connor's strengths at quarterback.
He's got a really strong arm. So and he's able to make quick decisions, and I think those are the two things for us that allow him to be successful for us. He can make all the throws, and at the same time he processes things very quickly. So again, I've talked about the defensive line. When you face a group like that, or you face this secondary, these linebackers, you can't sit there and pat the ball and hope things work out for you. You have to get the ball out of your hand, and you have to make some tough throws right off the bat. So I think his arm strength and his decision-making are what has separated him for us.
And then for you, just what's the transition been like returning to school as a head coach now?
For me, it's been fun. I really enjoy it here, and I like the players here, and I like the program, and like the school. It's the biggest transition for me is just going from being in the trenches, coaching and being in the meeting rooms and focusing on my position world to this kind of global view now as the head coach, where I'm kind of involved in everything. So that's kind of been the transition, but it's obviously one that I'm happy I did and I'm enjoying so far.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, thank you.
Coach, we thank you for the time today and through the course of the season. Look forward to talking to you the rest of the way.
Thank you now.
All right, and that is Temple at Notre Dame, 3:30 p.m. on NBC this Saturday. Moving on now to the University of Memphis and head coach Justin Fuente. The Tigers last year were 4-8 overall, 4-4 in Conference USA. Memphis does not play this weekend. They open their season September 7th against Duke. Coach, we thank you for the time for joining us on the call today and through the course of the season. If you could just take a minute to tell us about your training camp, and we can get into Duke specifically next week, but just tell us in general what we're looking for from the Tigers this year.
Sure. Well, we just finished up camp. Obviously, we're 2 weeks out, so we still have quite a bit of work to do to be game ready. We started school today. Thought we had a good camp. We had some good weather here. We had some good heat to get the guys ready to play, and then we had a few days where it was pretty cool outside, so that I think is kind of helped to freshen them up and help them make it through camp. And there was good give and take for the first time since we've been here. There was good back and forth on both sides of the ball. There wasn't entirely dominated by one side or the other, which is encouraging. And where we're at in our program, we're still trying to facilitate competition for playing time and guys moving up and down the depth chart and that sort of stuff. So had a lot of movement and overall had a really good camp.
Take questions for Coach Fuente, please. Hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue, and then the operator will introduce you. Go right ahead with questions, please.
And we'll hear from Phil Stuckenberg with the Commercial Appeals Memphis.
Coach, how are you?
Phil, how are you?
Yeah, I was going to ask you just a little bit. Everyone looks at this defense and kind of how it improved a year ago. Talk about what you've assembled this year and kind of your expectations of that group.
On that side of the ball? On defense? What are you saying? What we've assembled on defense, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think couple pieces. Ryan Coleman has moved to the Sam linebacker spot, and to try and replace Akeem Davis. Wynton McManus is a true freshman that played for us, was a true freshman last year that played quite a bit, that has given us some added depth at several different spots. We've continued to move some guys around at the dog position, the boundary linebacker spot. We had good competition in the back end after graduating a couple guys that had played a bunch of snaps. So, my expectation is the same for them as it is for our offense and our special teams, and that's to play hard, smart football. To me, we made the biggest strides in that category from when we got here towards the end of the last year, was just in our ability to play intelligent ball, play together, and continue to play hard through some tough times. So, my expectations are pretty clear for the team. I expect us to play hard, smart, and tough, and do it on every single snap.
And I guess defensively up front, I mean, you talk about this group throughout camp. Is it still a group that you expect a lot out of?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that it's. I think it's certainly the best that we have. I don't know how it stacks up on with some of the other people in the league. I would imagine there's probably people that have better people up front than we do. But for us, it's. I expect a lot of those front seven guys. If we stay healthy and continue to play hard and use great technique, I expect them to have to play very well for us. So, all I've got to go off of is what we've got, and I think it's probably our deepest or a spot that we have the most good or steady players at.
Go on to the next question, please.
And we'll move on to Don Wade with the Memphis Daily News.
Hi, Justin. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I know you can't do anything about the schedule, but is it odd or difficult to have everybody else starting this weekend, getting ramped up, and you have to kind of wait around?
Well, it's a little different. I like it. I like the way the schedule has fallen for us as far as camp goes. We got to start camp a little bit later. We got a little farther or a little closer to finishing summer school before camp started. Last year we had 5 full days of going to summer school and beginning camp. This year we only had 2 days, so I like that aspect of it. I like the fact that we get to go to school for a whole week before we, or for 2 weeks before we actually play, so we can kind of get set in our schedule. And kind of handle the adjustment and not have to turn around and play on Saturday. I also like the fact that we play 3 games here, and then we have a bye week. So, that's all we've really looked at is camp, the 2 weeks leading up to Duke, and then the 2 weeks after that, the 2 opponents after that, and then a bye week is about as far down the schedule as we've actually really looked right now. So I like the way it sets up. I think it'll be interesting. I look forward to a Saturday evening sitting back and watching the games and watching somebody else sweat out 3rd down and 8 or whether to go for it or whatever Saturday evening.
June Jones made the comment that he thought when, in Conference USA, you look at Central Florida on film, they look different than everybody else. But when he looks at everybody in this league on film, they all look like that. Would you agree?
No, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean this is a pretty large step up from just athletically. You look at some of the guys that Willie's got down there at South Florida, and you look at the size of the guys at Connecticut, and you look at Rutgers and Louisville. And, June's right. There's just no doubt that there's a marked difference by and large, or just from head to toe of the teams.
Thank you.
Yep.
questions for Coach Fuente, please hit star 1 if you do. Coach, we'll let you off the hook this week. Thanks so much for the time. Look forward to talking to you the rest of the way.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, and that's Coach Justin Fuente from Memphis. Again, the Tigers open this week. First game will be September 7th against Duke. And finally today we move on to UCF and head coach George O'Leary. The Knights were 10-4 overall, 7-1 in Conference USA last season. UCF won the Conference USA East Division title. This week, UCF opens its season Thursday against Akron at Bright House Network Stadium. That game will be a 7 p.m. kickoff and will be on ESPN3. Coach, thanks so much for joining us today and through the season. If you could take a minute to tell us about your preseason and then maybe specifically what you're looking forward to Thursday against Akron, please.
Okay, well, we started July 31st with practice, and school opened up on August 19th early. So we've been in school for a couple of weeks, and I think one is, you culminate with a Thursday night game against Akron, and, it's like everything else, it's the unknowns that you look at in that first game. You got a lot of experienced players back on both sides of the ball, but, how they're going to react when the lights come on and those type of the speed of the game, I think, changes tremendously as far as compared to practice speed. You try to duplicate it, but it's very difficult. But I think the big thing is going to be just, keep the game plan simple and go out and execute. I think that's what we've sort of believe in. And, again, the players are looking forward to hitting another jersey. They've been banging on each other for now a good month, so they're looking forward to getting out, seeing another face, and reacting to what they say.
Take questions for Coach O'Leary, please. Hit star 1 on your telephone to join the queue, and the operator will introduce you.
And we'll hear from Greg Amman with Tampa Bay Times.
Hey, Coach, I was hoping you could talk about Blake Bortles and just the progress you've seen from him since the end of last season and the confidence you have with a veteran quarterback in there this fall.
Well, I think, Greg, last year I thought he culminated with that St. Pete Bowl as far as putting it all together as far as the run game and the pass game. And, he's an athletic guy that can hurt you with his feet. He has the range to see it, and he has a big-time arm as far as, I always look at those guys that can throw the 3 cuts from the far hash, and there's a bunch of those guys in the conference, but he's one of them. And again, what I see him changing, Greg, is I think he's taken the fieldmanship part of his game, where I think he operated well. He got better each game last year as a first-year starter, but I think the fieldmanship part of it was something that, he's seen more situations now, experienced more situations. So I think that part of the game is where he's taken it a little bit more. And, I think last year all those DBs looked like a bunch of spiders running all over the place, and they finally started slowing down a little bit for him as the season went on. And I think he's getting an opportunity to read the field and deliver the ball to the weakness of the coverage now, which I think is where he's improved. I think he's like most good quarterbacks. He can take a bad play and make a good play out of it, and that's where I see him getting better. And I think the big thing is his command and field presence has really improved.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Any further questions for Coach O'Leary, please? Hit star 1. Seeing none, Coach, well, thank you for your time this week. Look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thank you very much.
All right.